All right, this is the nightmare scenario for me, which is, of course, Hillary wins the state of Colorado, and the momentum goes, maybe Bennett wins the state of Colorado. All right, but at least we have one Republican majority that is in the state Senate by one little vote. And if that's done, it's all gone. Joey Bunch from the Denver Post, glad to see you.
Thanks for having me.
Peter Marcus, thank you for being here.
I suppose.
Not glad seeing you.
I suppose.
So you still dating that cute?
She gets a shout out, huh?
Yeah.
All right.
She talk about me much?
Yeah, but it's not flattering.
Oh, she's interested. She's interested.
Yesterday was her birthday.
That's right. I sent her those roses. Oh, you probably didn't see those.
I had no idea she would get this whole show. That's amazing.
Better than talking about you.
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about the Colorado State Senate, because we're hanging by one vote for Republicans. And the guy who I think enjoys this the most is our governor, because when the Democrats had both houses, that's when all the craziness happened, and a courageous Hickenlooper couldn't veto anything. So I think he really likes this. What are the chances Republicans are going to be able to keep this? Let's talk about some of the key races.
Well, I think there are 4 swing races. And, you'd think 1 in 4, they're going to win. They're going to do that. Democrats only need to pick up 1 seat. We're 67 days away from the election, and I don't think a lot of people know a lot about these candidates. They don't get a lot of press.
And they get down ticket races. If Democrats do up top, a lot of times that helps in the coattails. That's what concerns me.
Going to have to split a lot of tickets with Donald Trump at the top of the ticket, especially in these Hispanic districts, heavily Hispanic districts, like you see in southern Colorado. But, we've got 4 races and, some strong Republicans in those races. So, I wouldn't start measuring for curtains if I was a Democrat just yet. We've still got a long way to go. And if you look at the campaign finance reports, there's a lot of money in these Senate races this year. $100,000, almost every one of them.
Well, let's take a couple of these. One, of course, Laura Wood, who is a senator. She's up for re-election. What's going on there?
Laura Wood, she's actually my senator, so I'm getting all of the mailers.
Lucky guy.
Yeah, so lucky. That's an interesting race. That's against Rachel Zenzinger, who came to be after the recalls. You remember Evie Hudak got out, and in the face of those recalls, Rachel Zenzinger got in on a vacancy, and then Laura Woods came in after that. Kicked her out. And so it's an interesting dynamic. It's like the recall is well in the past now. This is now a fresh election, and it is a fight. I can't go to Facebook or any website without Zenzinger's face staring at me. Laura Wood's flyers come in all the time. I mean, this is a key race for Republicans. I feel like if they can't hang on to that, then that's
so
that.
You think out of all 4 the swing races, you think this is the safest for Republicans?
I think it's probably the one that they're betting on the most. I mean, it's the race for Republicans to lose is really what it is.
Tell me about the one down south, because this one is fascinating.
Sure is. Senate District 35, you've got the incumbent Larry Crowder, and he's the guy the Republican Democrats always go to for a swing vote. He voted for...
If we need 1 vote...
Larry Crowder's their guy. He supported the expansion of Medicaid to the benefit of Obamacare. He supported the hospital provider fee, which Democrats wanted and every other Republican didn't. So he's not your typical Republican, but the guy he's running against is not your typical Democrat. It's Jim Casillas, and he's the sheriff down in Los Animas County. And when he sent out his press release when he announced his candidacy, he's a tough-looking guy. He's holding a gun. He's in front of his cruiser. But he was one of the guys who led that charge against the gun control laws, the lawsuit, that passed in 2013. So you've got an odd Republican and an odd Democrat, so the odd voters are going to decide that race.
What's the makeup of this district down there?
A lot of poor people, a lot of Hispanic people. But, Hispanic people are basically conservative. Republicans just haven't given them good reasons to vote for them.
From your lips to God's ears.
The hospital provider fee issue that Joey brought up is really interesting. It's there has been in some of these, especially these very contested races, an evolution on that subject. And I feel like in some ways, from a calculated standpoint, Republicans were thinking that this might be an issue that could be popular to voters. It's a way to invest in some critical state services at a time when that money isn't there. So you take J. Paul Brown. He's the state representative out of Ignacio, right near Durango. He's in the most contested, probably, House race this year. Money's flowing into that, starting to look almost like a Senate race, actually. He's up against Barbara McLaughlin, a Democrat, the wife of Mike McLaughlin.
Who he kicked out.
So it's kind of an interesting
And when Sonny Bodo died, his wife took the spot. That's the way that works.
Kind of similar thing. And so, J. Paul supported the hospital provider fee this year in the legislature. He also supported, last year supported funding for an IUD program we had that.
Well, that's awful. I knew a guy in Afghanistan lost his leg to an IUD.
Don't think we're talking about the same thing here. But.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we are.
But anyway, so he made some calculated decisions over the last couple of years, and I do think that when it came to these contested races, some Republicans felt like they had to separate themselves from the rest of the pack, and it's going to be a really close one, and we'll see what happens. But J. Paul's counting on hanging on for a lot of those reasons.
What are those other two Senate seats that we're looking at?
Well, we've got 25, which is Dan Kagan and Nancy Doty. And Nancy Doty is the former county clerk down in Arapahoe County. She's a county commissioner now. And Dan Kagan, he was a House member, and he had a pretty cushy district there with a lot of limousine liberals from Cherry Hills Village. But now he's got to run in a bigger area that's got a lot more Republicans in it.
And Nancy Doty is so well known in that area and served that community. I think that would be tough. But he's English. He's got that accent.
Sounds like Stewie Griffin.
It sounds like Stewie Griffin, and who wouldn't want Stewie?
So proper.
So proper.
So proper.
Yeah, it doesn't feel right for Littleton. I don't know what it is, the English guy.
But that's a race to watch. I think it could really go either way.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
I really do.
And there's one more then.
What is
Janice
it?
May
Janice
and-
May and
Let's bring it
Kevin
over here.
Priola.
Janice May and Priola, right?
Right. And
Yeah.
19.
Yeah, and that's another tough one. Janice May has a history at the legislature. I don't think she's my biggest fan. I ran a story once.
Nobody
Well,
likes you.
that is actually very fair, but I had a story about her and some rules violations where she's been thinking about this campaign for a while. She had a campaign open while she was still working for Dickie Lee, this House Speaker,
Right.
and that's a no-no at the legislature, so she shut it down. But obviously she was still gung-ho about it. She's back. I mean, that's a tough one against Priola. That one also could go both ways, I got to tell you. And I don't think we've figured out what the so-called Trump effect is on these down-ticket races yet. I think in a lot of these close races, everybody I talked to, all the consultants, they're just dumbfounded. They don't know.
You guys have, well, not you. You've been around long enough to see a lot of weirdness in politics. Am I wrong to say this is the weirdest year ever?
I would
weirdest
agree.
and the
And
angriest.
I know so many politicos, and you know guys who are in the business. Man, they love to pontificate. Here's what's going to happen. No, this is what's going to happen. No, this. Everyone to a T is like, I don't know. And so you're right that
I don't
and,
think.
and Colorado does have a history of splitting tickets. Our last election, we had John Hickenlooper and Cory Gardner. We do this all the time. So I'm not surprised if the top ticket and down lower are different, because also a lot of people who come out to vote for Hillary or against Trump, they might not vote the rest of the ticket.
I think district is going to matter a lot in that, the makeup of those districts. For instance, in the off topic from what we've been talking about, but the CD3 race between Scott Tipton and Gail Schwartz is the Democrat in that. There could be the Trump effect. If you have really poor, rural, white parts of the state, that could actually bode better for Republicans in those, because there could be folks who Donald Trump has aligned with who may come out in those races. So I really do think the district, the makeup of it, it's going to be interesting.
Talk to me a little bit more about the Tipton race. How close is this? Because I know there's a lot of attention to Kaufman's race given this year, which should have been an easier year for him.
Yeah. So Tipton's folks, I know, weren't thrilled about the fact that Gail Schwartz was going to run, because it was a sleepy race. There wasn't a Democrat that was coming up. Gail Schwartz has a record. She's known in the district. She's been around. She's been really good on a lot of environmental issues. They're going to be hitting Scott hard on climate change, coal, things like that.
But in that district, isn't
turning it around.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
I'm going to take out coal. Well, thank you. I lost my job to you, lady.
So exactly. Tipton's team is just turning that right around, and they're going to be like, well, yeah, great. There's people without jobs in this district, huge district. It has rich mountain communities, poor rural communities.
You do forget. I mean, because we're so Denver-centric.
Yeah.
Politics in Colorado is so Denver-centric. Again, we talk about we love the urbanites, and now we got an urbanite as a governor, and so you forget that these other districts, they're massive in size. The 3rd Congressional is
huge.
It's the size of a few states.
Yeah, Tipton, his race to lose, I would be shocked if Gale pulls it off personally, but there's a ton of money that's about to come in, and everybody I talk to says it hasn't even started yet, so we'll see.
Do you think that the initiatives on the ballot, because we've got some good ones, but I don't see anyone that's going to pull people in the way that the marijuana vote did. The marijuana vote, if you recall, the governor was against it, and when he started saying I'm against it, the Obama people said shut the hell up because those are our voters. And sure enough, I don't see something on the ballot, although there's a lot of interesting things. I don't see something that's going to bring people out. Do you?
I don't know about bring out, but I see wedge issues all over the ballot. The minimum wage, that's going to bring out a certain kind of voter, and the kind of voter that Democrats like. And then you've got the open primaries bill that's on there, and a lot of Republicans, they don't like that bill.
Right.
You got death with dignity, which is not really a political issue, it's more of a moral issue, and that could go either way.
I know people on all sides and all parties. That's not a party issue.
Right.
But everything else is kind of such inside baseball. Even the caucuses, the primary system, the one that I'm strongly involved with to hopefully not stop this thing to screw the initiative process. You got this. The only big one is Amendment 69, which even the socialists don't like, and so I think that's going to get killed.
Well, without those 2 fracking initiatives on, which is the sexy, I suppose, ballot initiatives, in the sense that that's what people get really riled up about. There's angry press conferences, rallies, things like that. Without those being on the ballot, it's quieter. I think probably minimum wage. When looking through my stories, when I'm writing about issues, the minimum wage one seems to get more comments.
There are Republicans who are disappointed those fracking issues aren't on, because that would be the one that drove out voters for Republicans
across the state. And I think the legislators that are running up in Northeast metro area and beyond, they've got things to worry about, because I think the fractivists are awfully angry, and I think the Republicans...
We're all angry. It's a good year to be angry. Joey, thank you. Thank you. Listen for me on KHOW Radio. Tell a friend, and we'll see you next week.